The Forbidden Flame. In the shadows of academia, where knowledge is power, a forbidden romance ignites between a brilliant student and her captivating tutor. Their intellectual connection quickly transforms into something far more intense, a dangerous game of desire played out in stolen glances and whispered secrets. But as their passion grows, so does the risk of exposure. Can they succumb to their forbidden longing, or will the weight of societal judgment tear them apart? Watch Silent Confessions to discover the truth about this passionate and forbidden affair. The flickering candlelight cast long, dancing shadows across the room, illuminating dust motes that swirled hypnotically in the air. Outside, rain lashed against the windows, mirroring the tempest that brewed within Elara. Her tutor, Miss Beaumont, sat across from her, brows knitted in elegant concentration as she reviewed Elara's latest essay. The soft rustle of paper and the occasional sound of ink scratching against parchment filled the quiet space between them. Elara, however, struggled to concentrate on the words etched on the page in front of her. Her gaze drifted, drawn irresistibly to Miss Beaumont's face, the delicate curve of her lips when she pursed them in thought, the intriguing way her glasses slid down her nose, only to be pushed back again with a casual flick of her finger. Each minute detail seemed richer, more intoxicating than the one before. A shiver ran down Elara's spine, though the room was far from cold. Their lessons had always been a dance of intellect and curiosity. Miss Beaumont, with her sharp wit and impassioned speeches, had always fueled a hunger in Elara. But now that hunger had become something else entirely, something unspoken, dangerous, and impossible to contain. The turning point came one lazy afternoon, late in the golden glow of a rainy dusk. They had been analyzing Sappho's poetry, their discussion growing more impassioned as they debated the nuances of desire and forbidden love. Words collided into uncharted emotions as Miss Beaumont's hand brushed against Elara's, so brief it could have been an accident, yet it felt like a lightning strike that ignited a fire between them. Elara froze, her breath catching audibly. She dared to meet Miss Beaumont's eyes, and what she saw there sent her heart spiraling. The air between them thickened like a storm cloud about to erupt. And so their lessons ceased to be purely about philosophy. They became drenched in an unspoken yet undeniable tension. A delicate game emerged, a language of stolen glances, lingering touches, and undercurrents of emotion whispered through silence. Their meetings soon stretched beyond the classroom. In the dim corners of the library, they brushed against one another, sharing intimate spaces crowded with old books and hushed secrets. Miss Beaumont would lean in to explain something, her breath warm against Elara's ear. "I could feel you," Elara thought once during one such moment, as Miss Beaumont's hand lightly grazed hers over the edge of a rare manuscript. The contact was so fleeting, yet so charged that it felt like an unspeakable confession. The line between coincidence and intent blurred until it was gone altogether. When Elara returned to her room each night, the feelings followed her. The ghost of Miss Beaumont's fingertips trailed down her arm in memory. Elara would lie awake in her bed, replaying each glance, each word, each accidental touch as the longing curled within her. In the stillness of the dark, her fantasies took shape. Elara closed her eyes and imagined what Miss Beaumont's hands might feel like gliding over her skin, comforting and commanding all at once. Images of pressing their bodies together, of tasting the lips she had so often stared at, flooded her senses. A soft, muffled moan escaped her throat as she gave in to a wave of desire, burying her face in her pillow, aching and exhilarated by the depth of her yearning. She was consumed, not only by the thrill of Miss Beaumont's presence, but also by the alluring wrongness of it all. The danger cradled her desire like a flame that burned brighter the more forbidden it became. One evening, their private lessons neared an impossible breaking point. The storm outside mirrored the tempest that churned between them. Candlelight rendered soft amber halos around their faces, casting every glance and touch in a romantic haze. As they leaned closer over a shared piece of coursework, Elara felt her resolve slipping with every second. The scent of Miss Beaumont's perfume, warm and inviting, enveloped her. Her voice, a husky melody of wisdom and intimacy, pulled her deeper into a dreamlike haze. "Holding back is exhausting," Miss Beaumont murmured suddenly, her words barely audible, but heartbreaking and raw. Elara's heart began to race. "I feel it too," she admitted in a rush, tears pricking her eyes for reasons she didn't fully understand. She had kept the truth bottled up for so long it almost hurt to release it. Miss Beaumont's hand cupped her cheek, her touch impossibly gentle. "We shouldn't," she whispered, and yet her thumb traced the curve of Elara's jaw in a way that promised an unraveling. "Nobody needs to know," Elara's reply came in a hurried breath. They froze for a moment, suspended in the unspoken agreement passing between their eyes. And then the dam broke. It started tentatively, Miss Beaumont leaning forward until her lips brushed against Elara's in a moment so light it felt like a whisper carried by the wind. But the hesitation quickly dissolved. The kiss deepened, becoming insistent, their mouths exploring hungrily, an intoxicated gasp escaping from one of them. Elara tentatively reached for her tutor's hair, threading her fingers through the silken strands as if inviting her closer, daring her to come undone completely. Miss Beaumont responded in kind, her hands pulling Elara to her until the space between their bodies vanished altogether. Their breaths mingled, their hearts pounding in unison. The kiss was breathtakingly raw, full of hunger and vulnerability, fueled by the thrill of the forbidden. Time seemed to stop. All that existed was the warmth of their shared passion, the crackle of the storm outside as it paled in comparison to the one between them. The worry, the fear, the repercussions, everything disappeared in that sacred stolen moment. Only desire remained. The hours that followed blurred into a tapestry of touch and exploration. As if afraid this was all a fleeting dream, Elara caressed every inch of Miss Beaumont's skin she could reach. The curve of her collarbone, the slope of her shoulders, the small of her back. Miss Beaumont returned every touch with equal intensity, her lips exploring Elara's neck, her hands trailing paths that left a rush of fire in their wake. The storm outside howled and raged, a strangely fitting accompaniment to their union. They claimed each other fully, moving as though they could never get enough, drinking in every sigh, every shudder, every whispered name. "You feel like a dream," Elara murmured as Miss Beaumont trailed her lips down her shoulder, her touch like a comet blazing across her skin. "And you feel like a sin?" Miss Beaumont replied softly, her words a mix of reverence and yearning. They surrendered completely to the forbidden intoxicant of their love, wrapped together as if the rest of the world could not touch them. Their passion became liberation, their mutual indulgence free from the constraints of reason or rules. Yet, amid the euphoria, the tension of reality lingered just beyond the edges of their intimacy. Their love existed as a trembling secret, balanced precariously on a knife's edge. They lived for these moments, knowing each one might be the last, yet unable to turn away from the magnetic pull of their connection. Miss Beaumont often whispered warnings even as they embraced. "One wrong move and everything will fall apart," she said softly, her breath caressing Elara's ear during one early morning encounter. Elara silenced her with a kiss. "I don't care. You're worth it." And so they became experts in discretion, cherishing their stolen glances and late-night rendezvous. Every time they touched, every time their gazes found each other across a room, the rush of forbidden love sent electricity through their veins, reigniting the flames within them. These secret trysts became their sanctuary. Their passion flourished in whispers and shadows, where the world could not judge and hearts dared to love without restraint. As dawn broke one morning after another stormy night, Elara lay awake, watching the soft rise and fall of Miss Beaumont's chest as she slept beside her. Her fingertips traced the edges of her tutor's jawline, the warmth in her chest an undeniable ache, the kind of ache that only comes with a love both fierce and impossible. She knew they would face storms far worse than any that raged outside their window, but for now they had their flame, a forbidden, fragile light that burned against the darkest of nights. In that moment, nothing else mattered. They were two souls intertwined, lost in a dangerous, intoxicating dance of passion that bound them together, even as the world tried to pull them apart. And wherever that flame led, they would follow, together. Did their forbidden love survive the storm of societal judgment? Let me know what you think on the comment below. Subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories of love, desire, and the secrets we keep. And don't forget to add a like. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of Silent Confessions.